Hello and welcome to the 741 channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today I want to talk a little bit about I guess I'll call it a mystery signal that I've been hearing on CB radio here. Now the first thing I'll mention is that I've been in and out of CB radio for over 30 years now, and recently I've been kind of out of it. I wanted to kind of get back into it. So I picked up a Bearcat 980 SSB and I've been kind of playing around with that for the last couple of months. I've been rolling through the channels kind of on and off over the last few weeks just to see what I can hear out there. Every time I land on channel 23, I'm hearing a digital signal. And we'll take a little closer look at the signal here in a minute once I kind of finish the backstory. But it sounded a little odd to me. Now, of course, channel 23 is allowed to have sort of remote control and sort of digital type signals on it by the FCC rules. And of course, I've heard signals like that on 23 before. In fact, I've had cheapo Radio Shack remote control cars that you can definitely hear on there. But this is different. I'm hearing multiple signals on there, different signal strengths, and they all sound kind of the same. And based on what I'm hearing, they all sound like FSK type signals, or frequency shift keying, something that you'd hear maybe in the ham bands. So I got a little bit curious and I started to do some research on what this signal might be. Now I have a few ideas, but before I get into that part of the video, I'm going to put the camera closer to the radio so that you guys can hear what I'm hearing. You'll see the signals on the signal meter. And then after that, we'll take an even closer look at it using my software-defined receiver on the computer. We can actually look at that signal and maybe analyze it a little bit more. And then what I'll do is I'll take you guys out in the field with me to try and track one of these signals down. Not sure if I found it or not. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But first, like I said, let's take a closer look at this signal. So let's see what the signal looks and sounds like on the Bearcat 980. Before I turn the volume up, I'll mention that the antenna that I'm using is my Mako V58 base antenna. It's up about 20 feet on a pole in my backyard. And because the signal is digital, I've got the radio in sideband mode right now. That makes it a lot easier to hear. So let's take a look at the signal now using my software-defined receiver. The radio that I'm using is my SDR Play RSP-DX, and the software that you see here is SDR Uno. So I've got the audio muted, but as you can see, I've got the radio running and we are receiving the signal on 27,255 megahertz. I've got the radio set in digital mode, and over here you can see the main spectrum window and waterfall. And then over here is the passband for the filtering. So taking a look at the waterfall here, I'm no expert in digital signals or reading waterfalls or any of that stuff. So as we go through this, if you guys have a better explanation as to what we're seeing on the screen right now, feel free to leave that down in the comments. But basically what we're looking at here, you can see these data bursts as they scroll down the waterfall, and those are what we're hearing on the CB. If I unmute it, you'll be able to hear it too. And now you should be able to see and hear the signals. You can see the data bursts there on either side of the center frequency are what I would traditionally kind of look at as an FSK signal. Now normally when we're looking at amateur radio FSK, the signal bursts are a little bit longer in duration. These, as you can see and hear, are quite short. Now you should also be able to see in the waterfall here that these signals kind of shift frequency a little bit within the passband. Looks like each data burst is at a slightly different frequency. And I think what that means is that every time we see one at a slightly different frequency, that's a different transmitter. But I'm not sure of that. Now another thing that I find interesting, and I didn't notice this by just listening on the CB radio, but looking at it in the waterfall, you can see that there's another signal in here. There's one there, there's one over here on the left, and you can see that it transmits for a while and then it stops and disappears, and then you can see there's another one that picks up. This one's a little bit stronger. So we'll narrow up the passband and take a listen to that in a minute. Another thing that I noticed here as I was looking at the waterfall, over here at 27,250 megahertz, there's some other kind of digital signal here too, which, again, we didn't hear that on the CB, so there's definitely something else here that may or may not be related to what we're hearing over here with the data bursts. So I've narrowed up the passband and shifted it over a little bit so that we can hear this signal when it starts transmitting again. So there's the signal, and you can see I've narrowed up the passband a bit, and now we're hearing that other more steady and longer signal that's in there. And there it shut off. Now again, I'm not a digital signal expert. Maybe one of you guys knows what that is. Anyway, before we move on, let's take a look at this other signal that's over here. So now I've tuned the receiver over to 27250, and I've narrowed up the passband here a bit so that we can focus on this other signal. So I've zoomed this in even a little bit more so that we can get a closer look at the signal there, and you can see there's definitely 3 lines there of some kind of signal. Not sure what that would be. Again, if you do, put it down in the comments. So now that I've taken a look at the signal in some detail and realized that there's more there than just those FSK data bursts. There's those other signals that are kind of intermixed in there. But thinking just of the FSK data bursts, I did a little bit of internet searching, and what I came up with was that the FSK data burst signals may be being caused by what I'll call remote access transceivers. So let's go over to the computer, pull up a web page, and take a little closer look at what I'm talking about. So one possible source for this mystery signal that I'm hearing are these devices manufactured by Linear. So I'm taking a look at their website, and you can see that they have a whole line of mid-range transmitters that they sell. This one is a fixed transmitter. These ones are handheld. And then they also have a few receivers here that go along with the transmitter. And if we scroll down, you can see they also sell some antenna options, connectors, and power supplies. But let's take a closer look at the XT1. If I take a look at the product page for this, you can see here that this is a 10 watt, 27.255 megahertz transmitter sending out a digitally encoded FSK modulated signal to its companion receivers. So this could very well be what I'm hearing. If I read down a little bit further, it says here that there is a status option that can be turned on that forces the XT1 to send out an hourly status signal to its receiver. So I'm wondering if there's just tons of these things out in the field, and all those various data bursts that I'm hearing are just status updates for these things. Maybe they can be set to transmit more often than an hour. I'm not really sure. It seems a little unlikely that we'd have so many of them in the area that I can hear if they're all only transmitting once an hour. But you never know. So I dug around a little deeper on the website, and I found this brochure for the extended range line from Linear. So I'll leave links to all this stuff down in the description below if you guys want to take a closer look at it. But for right now, I'm going to just scroll down and just kind of taking a high-level look at the brochure. You can see that these devices can be used for remote control of things like construction sites, golf courses, things of that nature where you may want to remotely operate a gate or who knows. If I scroll down to the next page, we can see the XT1, which we were just looking at, and then they also have a 4-channel version, the XT4. And then you can see down here they're showing some more use cases, marinas, parks, and farms. Anywhere where you might need to remotely control something from a fairly good distance. Down on the next page, you can see they're highlighting their range of receivers. They have a single channel, a 4-channel, and a 16-channel receiver. And again, some more use cases here: storage facilities, substations, and agriculture. So the next page talks about some of the features of this line of products. And then the last page just talks about some of the accessories and ordering information. So digging around a little deeper on the internet, I came across the Kallenberg Signaling Company. Looks like they're a manufacturer of industrial horns that you might use in sort of a factory setting. Now, it looks like they have a product offering where they offer remote control of their horns using the Linear devices. You can see pictured here the XT1 and the XR1, some power supplies, and even some antennas here. Another place maybe I could go look for the signal would be near an industrial area or maybe a large factory or something like that. It's the middle of October now, and it's probably one of the last warm weekends we're going to have in 2020. So what I think I'm going to do is head out on the motorcycle and see if I can find this signal. Now I'm going to head to a spot that I went with the family a few weeks ago for a picnic, and I thought I was getting some pretty good read on the signal there. I had brought my Texan PL660 with me and was kind of listening to it a little bit when no one was looking. But I didn't have the camera with me, and I didn't have a chance to really explore too much. But today I'm going to be by myself. I'm going to bring the radio, and we're going to walk around a little bit and see if we can find one of these transmitters. Hopefully you can see behind me. The sun's in my eyes, so sorry if I'm squinting a bit. But I'm here at the Mansfield Hollow Dam. I've got my radio set up here, and I am hearing the signal a little bit. So what I think I'm going to do is walk around a little bit and see if I can hone in on this signal. Now, like I said, I was here before in the summertime. I had my radio with me, and I heard the signal pretty strong here, actually up on the dam. So I'm going to take a walk up there now with the radio and see if we can hear it. So I ended up going up to the top of the dam by walking up the staircase that you see right below the arrow here. I stood pretty much at the top of the staircase with my radio on a guardrail post and recorded the next few clips of the signal. So here's a look at the antenna that's on top of the building that's built into the side of the dam and is right next to the top of the staircase. Now, I was a little bit disappointed because I thought for sure that this antenna had something to do with this signal. But as you saw in the previous clips, the signal was weak to moderate at best. It only registered on the S meter of the radio a few times, and when it did, it was sort of low on the S meter. So I decided to walk around and keep looking. So there's a paved walking path along the top of the dam that extends about 1,000 feet or so in the direction that this arrow is pointing. So I decided to walk down there and see what happened. So as I walked along the path on the top of the dam, I noticed this building sort of adjacent to the dam and off to the side a little bit. Now I also noticed that the building had a couple of antennas on it. Well, one was actually on the building and one was next to it, as you can see in this photo. But these antennas have elements that suggest that they're used for a VHF type signal and not so much the 27 megahertz signal that I'm looking for. Nevertheless, I milled around the area with the radio on, listening for the signal, but really didn't hear it any stronger than I did when I was on top of the dam. So I knew that it wasn't coming from this building at all. So I've been walking around a little bit more, and the strongest that I heard the signal was near this telephone pole. And there it is, you could probably hear it there. So I'm not really sure why that would be the case, but maybe there's something here or maybe in that house that's back there. Now, just for reference, I'm going to turn around. There's a house there as well, but the dam is right there. So still could be something coming from the dam. I'm not really sure. So I've been walking around here for a little while, and there's just a ton of people here today because it's a nice day. So I've been a little hesitant to kind of turn the camera on myself and start vlogging. I'm not quite comfortable doing that in a crowd of people. But anyway, I've come over here to kind of this quiet spot where there's nobody around. I've got the radio going, and through listening to it right here where I'm at and walking around, I've really only heard the signal medium to kind of weak, except for one time. And I was on my way walking over to this spot. I was about halfway over here from the dam behind me over there. So I'm thinking that maybe that super loud one came from the dam here somewhere, and maybe it only transmits every so often. Who knows, 5 minutes, 10-minute intervals. And maybe these other ones that I'm hearing are in the area but not real close. So now that I'm back from the Mansfield Hollow Dam and I had a chance to kind of look at all the footage, I'm not so sure that any of those signals were coming from the dam area. Of course, there was that building that was sort of built into the side of the dam with that antenna on top, and I thought for sure that that antenna was connected up to one of those transmitters. But I think if that were the case, I would have been hearing that signal louder, unless these things only transmit at very spread out intervals, and I just didn't happen to catch a burst from that one. And the ones that I were hearing may have been in the area, don't know how far away they would have been. Based on the research that I did earlier, if what I'm really hearing are these transponders or remote access devices, those things can put out up to 10 watts. So they could be miles away and still be fairly strong in the receiver. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think I was close to the signal, or do you think I need to keep looking? And if you think I need to keep looking, what would be your suggestion for a place to go to kind of look for one of these things? Or am I even on the right track? Should I be looking for something else entirely? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to leave a comment or subscribe, feel free to do that as well. And if you'd like to support my channel in another way, please consider visiting my Amazon store, which is linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.